The mountain ranges that surround Tucson are the Santa Catalinas just north and the Santa Rita Mountains. And then you have the Tucson Mountains right there to the west, with a mountain very predominant and easy to see from downtown Tucson, Arizona. You can actually see a mountain from further east. It's a flat city, and so a mountain sticks out like a sore thumb. You can see the A from quite a distance. A friend of mine had been driving past a mountain when I turned to him and I said, you know, Russell, you ever think that Tucson mountain range may line up with Orion? And that's because, of course, I had just studied the Grand Canyon there, and he said, yeah, look at that. Well, I said, well, look at a mountain. I mean, we grew up with that thing our whole lives, and doesn't that look like a pyramid? Yeah, he said. I said, of course it's a pyramid. Well, I'm going to study this. And I did. Found out that it's not a volcano at all, and yet it's made out of volcanic rock. I had done the research on Hoover Dam, which led me to taking a look at the Grand Canyon and finding eventually there, didn't take long to do, a correlation between the stars of Orion, which seemed to match up with the major monuments of the Grand Canyon, which would be the natural features that everybody, including myself when I was a child, would look over the south rim and say, oh wow, isn't that something? From Isis Temple, Cheops Pyramid, Tower of Ra, Buddha Temple, Buddha Cloister, all of those monuments match up with the major stars of Orion, which would be Rigel, south. Above the belt would be Betelgeuse and Bellatrix. The other major features of the Grand Canyon, I believe, to match up with the Pleiades system, and I'm sort of doing a survey and a study on that. They seem to match up too. It's quite interesting. And then it dawned on me that there may be pyramids all over the world still undiscovered, just hidden right in plain sight. Well, here in my backyard in Tucson, Arizona, we have what I always thought was a pyramid without really thinking twice about it. The mountain is right outside of downtown Tucson. You could see it. They call it a mountain, but its name is Sentinel Peak. And the University of Arizona engineering students made a decision to create a big old A there after a football game that was won here in Tucson, to establish that as a University of Arizona thing. But they used the letter A to stand for Arizona. My concern is that that big mound, which seems to be there out of nowhere, although it is a companion to the Tucson Mountains that were created by volcanic activity, Sentinel Peak is not a volcano. The USGS, United States Geological Survey, says that it's not a volcano, and yet it's made out of volcanic rock. They even quarried quite a bit of that rock out of there and used basalt rock to create walls and features, and just use them in architecture around Tucson, Arizona. And it's funny, when I did this research, I just never considered that we see a mountain everywhere, or Sentinel Peak. But as you notice, at the bottom of this quarry, you see bedrock. Now, how can that mound that's in the shape of it's almost like a cylindrical configuration, but it can also look like as if it had four sides as well. It had to come from somewhere if it was natural, but there's no volcanic vent that would have spewed that magma from the center up and then come down just like an anthill. So it makes no sense. But it is part of the Tucson mountain range of mountains just north of that, which were created by volcanic activity. But those volcanoes couldn't have marched on over southbound a little bit there to dump their waste into a big pile and create that thing. It makes no sense. The mountain behind it, or just west of it, is called Tucson Peak, and that too is made out of volcanic rock as well, and it's not considered a volcano. But I just looked at a mountain because that's the more notable one.